Welcome back to my channel, and today I bring you a very unique episode about an absolute gem of a place, a truly unrestored, wild section of the Great Wall unknown to even most Chinese locals. What's going to be special about this section of the Great Wall is threefold. First, because of its relative anonymity and wilderness, I will virtually be alone. Second, this stretch of the Great Wall lies on top of a mountain range that is relatively flat, meaning the view will be magnificent as the wall stretches before me as far as the eye can see. And last, there's many popular parts of the wall are modern constructions made to look like the original Great Wall. This section has never been restored since its completion in the 16th century during the Ming Dynasty, taking us back to what the Great Wall truly looked like in antiquity. To reach this section of the wall directly from Beijing will be a 2.5-hour drive. But I stayed at the nearby Gubeikou water town that is just absolutely breathtaking in its beauty, especially in the evening, so subscribe and wait for that episode in the coming weeks. The wall is far in the distance on top of the mountain range, and we pass quiet villages on the way through a stretch of the highway without any other cars. A foreshadow of how seclusive today's hike will be. The key to understanding the Great Wall is very simple. The Great Wall is built in the northern part of China, where the terrain is very mountainous and traditional invaders such as the Mongols lies even further north, and battles have been fought over these lands between the invading Mongols and the defending Chinese for thousands of years. As I reach the ticket office, it's nothing like the large tourist centers you'll find in the popular and crowded commercial sections of the Great Wall. It's simply a one-story building with one employee who asked me for 35 yuan, $5 for a ticket. And as you can see, the parking lot is completely empty with not a single other visitor in sight. As I begin my hike, here's some basic information about the Great Wall and this particular section we're exploring today. Officially, the Great Wall stretches over 20,000 kilometers or 13,000 miles, and construction began over 2,000 years ago. This very section of the wall is the most historically well-preserved, called the Gubeikou Great Wall, literally meaning Old Northern Pass, a 13-mile-long stretch that was the subject of numerous historical battles in antiquity between the Mongols and Chinese, as well as during the Second Sino-Japanese War against the invading Japanese forces. Today, I am hiking a 3-mile stretch of the wall called the Panlong Mountain Great Wall. And the word Panlong means a slithering dragon laying on the ground that is yet to ascend into the skies, which is just a perfect word to describe the scenery that we'll see today. My hike begins on a narrow dirt path, and after about 15 minutes, we reach the wall. The architecture is immediately striking in how original this unrestored Great Wall looks. Construction here began in the 14th century in early Ming Dynasty and continued for the next 200 years until the 16th century. My first stop is a left turn to the General Tower, which served as the command center for the Panlong Great Wall's total of 40 watchtowers. It is from here that the most breathtaking view I have ever seen in any stretch of the Great Wall unfolds before your eyes. You are standing at the very spot of what a Ming Dynasty commanding general looking eastward would have looked at as he inspected his defenses against the Mongols. And looking westward in the opposite direction, I am looking at another stretch of the wall called the Crouching Tiger Great Wall. And nearby watchtowers are in various states of decay, but still retain their distinct rectangular shapes. The view is absolutely amazing, and there's not another person around for miles. To get into each watchtower, there are steps that are sometimes in good shape and sometimes quite damaged. The view from the inside is from these large half-dome openings in all four directions to inspect the terrain, which has stayed unchanged for hundreds of years, in order to anticipate and identify enemy movements. And it's in these watchtowers that evidence of damage is quite evident. While these walls have been through many battles, it's actually biological weathering damage from wind and water that continue to erode the wall, causing these uneven marks and holes to develop in the building and wall structures. The wall has survived 500 years of battles, and in peacetime, here's to the next 500 years. The hike on the wall is always on a dirt path on top of the wall, and in that this is not a commercially vibrant tourist hotspot. You sacrifice well-built modern steps for the originality of the Ming architecture. But it's evident during the hike that parts of the wall have become extremely degraded. However, what's really interesting along the way are the various still preserved defense features that you can find only in an original wild Great Wall. Here's a really cool feature called the hanging eye, for which only the sliding chute is still preserved. And it works in the same way a modern fireman would slide down a pole in the fire station. And here's an amazingly well-preserved drainage system called the watering hole that I have only ever seen on this Great Wall, not anywhere else. And as if we needed more evidence of how intelligent our ancestors are, I found these original Ming Dynasty installations every few yards on certain parts of the wall. They're called water blocks. And they will prevent liquid from pooling so the water can be drained via the drainage system we saw earlier. Absolutely marvelous engineering, well ahead of its time. As I approach the final destination of today's hike, the largest watchtower, called the 24 Eyes Tower, I am completely overwhelmed by the scenery. And judging by this marker I saw earlier, the British envoys in the infamous McCartney mission of 1793 must have felt the same as they passed this very stretch of the Great Wall on their way out of China back to England, and they drew the first image of the Great Wall to ever appear in modern publications. I can't imagine this view to be any different from what these men saw on that day some 200 odd years ago, so let's enjoy the view. The end point of today's hike is the largest watchtower, the 24 Eyes Tower, named so because each of its four walls has 6 openings for a total of 24 windows. What you're seeing is not an optical illusion. The wall is curved. done in by centuries against the mountain wind and rain, and two of its sides are almost completely gone, with the most well-preserved wall needing steel beams in order to support it. But it's here that soldiers stood for centuries to protect the land, and today, in times of peace, we have only this as a reminder of the turbulent times this majestic mountain range and the Great Wall resting on top of it have seen over the course of centuries. As I head back, I encounter a group of local villagers, men and women in their 50s and 60s, building a hiking path alongside the wall for future travelers. In the blazing sun, they flatten the terrain and pour cement, working with only 2 donkeys, 1 generator, and 1 drum of diesel. The rest is all human muscle and will. And it's at that very moment I realized the wall is not the only marker of history I saw today, but the same human spirit of the people who built this place, whose names we will never know. Well, that spirit lives on, and no wind or rain can ever change it. Thank you for watching my new episode today. Let's stay in touch. Subscribe to my channel for more episodes, and I'll see you on the next one.